Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's session. Welcome to those of you joined on Teams, and welcome to you, those who are joining on YouTube. We are still sorting out Zoom. Yes, please just make sure that you're muted and your videos are off. And in the comment section, please just let us who you are, type in your name and where you are coming from. Welcome. Welcome, Zbusiso. Welcome, Monica. Welcome, Craig. Nice having you. Welcome, Michael. I see there's Klanti. Welcome, Klanti. And on YouTube, we have Yvonne, and we have Roger. Welcome, Roger. I see there's Janet from Scottsburg Methodist. Welcome, Janet. That's on YouTube. I'm still getting connected to Zoom. There's a bad echo from my mic. Okay, let's see. Is everyone else on Teams picking up an echo? Thanks, Busiso. Thank Craig. Okay, I see. And those watching on YouTube, can you please let us know if ever there's an echo on your side? We noticed there was an echo yesterday. I was suspecting it was a mic issue, so we changed the mic today. Can anyone watching on YouTube please let me know if ever they are hearing an echo? No echo. Okay, fantastic. Thank you all. Thank you all for joining. Let's give it just a few more minutes, maybe 2 more minutes to let others join. So the recording for this session will be on our YouTube and it will be shared. You can go to our YouTube channel and then watch it from there. And the presentation slides, they can be available on request. And I'll be sharing also some notes and some ebooks at the end of this week. So that will be tomorrow, Friday. Now let's just wait until 5 past and then we can start. In the meantime, let us hear in the comments what social media platforms or how often does your church post on social media? How often does your church post on social media? So I'm just going to post a question here on Teams, and in the chat box you can answer how often your church posts on social media. The options are never, once a month, once a week, a few times a week. I'll also post on YouTube. How often does your church post on social media? Never, once a month, every week, a few times a week. Let's hear if your churches are using. I see Lynn is saying purely flat once a week. Thanks, Lynn. That's wonderful. See, Auntie is saying every week. Fantastic, lovely. Craig is saying never. That's awesome. Every week. That's Bongeka. We post on a regular basis. St. Michael's Anglican Alexandra. Thanks, Vusi. Weekly. Posisa. Margaret is saying weekly. That's fantastic. Let me see on YouTube. Occasionally from Roger. Welcome, Wenzel. Is it Wenzel? Used to be weekly, now monthly from Monica. Thanks, Monica. Busiso is saying hardly any post. Okay. So in today's session, hopefully that will change and we'll start posting at least twice a week. That will be the challenge for this week, for churches to be empowered to start posting twice a week. I'm going to be showing you a simple strategy, simple content strategy that you can use so that you have things to post on social media. Okay, it's 6 past now. I hope everyone on Teams, on Zoom are sorted. If not, we will share the recording on YouTube and people can catch up there. So welcome again. Welcome back. It's so good to see all of you here, and welcome back again. I keep on welcoming you back. So this is still our course. This is week 2 of our course, Empowering the Church Through Technology. So if you remember, those of you who joined last week it was Reverend Christopher Harrison. He laid the foundations on how we gave us a biblical perspective on the use of technology and why it matters to ministry. And today in this session, we are diving into something super practical. We are going to be diving into social media and websites. And so these are tools that can help us in ministry, especially with outreach and sharing the gospel beyond just your Sunday services. Remember that Jesus said that in Matthew 28, verse 19, when he gave us the Great Commission, he said, "Go and make disciples of all nations." Well, in 2025, we can say that the nations are on Instagram, are on Facebook, they're hanging out on TikTok, they're hanging out on YouTube. And now the world is our oyster, the world is our mission field. And if we are serious as ministers, if we are serious as churches, then if you're serious and committed to this great commission, then we need to be there too on social media. Hence, I had asked earlier on, how often do your churches post on social media? And most are saying weekly, which is nice. At least we have weekly content going out, but we need to extend it, maybe make it twice a week or something like that, so that we carry out the Great Commission and also serve people that are not part of our congregations. So as we carry out the Great Commission, we can think of social media as our digital mission field. So here are some of the numbers to make you aware that social media, indeed, people are there. So these are just stats for South Africa. You can see that there are over 26 million people who are using social media on a daily basis. That's almost half of the population in South Africa. And the average person spends about that's just 3 hours and 41 minutes. So that's quite a lot of time that is spent on social media. So as churches, what are we doing about this time that is spent by people on social media? And here's some global trends of social media platforms there in terms of popularity. You can see there at the top, Facebook is the most popular, followed by YouTube, Instagram, and WhatsApp. So you can see that people are there. This is in millions. So on Facebook, there's 3,070 million, which is 3 billion essentially. So we can see that we have many people on social media and your community is already out there. So how is your church showing up? So with these stats in mind, I'm just going to ask another question again, and let's hear what you have to say in terms of usage of social media. So I see, let me see, saying that the presentation is still on the first page. Okay, let me Let me reshare and see. Okay. Okay. So I have. Um, can you see the slides now? Um, the stats are here. This is the slides showing the stats in South Africa. You can see 26 million are on social media each and every day. And then you can see the popularity here. So can you see the slides now? I hope you can see them. Can someone just answer me on Teams and also on YouTube? And while we are at that, I'm just going to post another question here. And looking at this, the trends and also the stats, can you please just let me know in the chat box which of these platforms is your church using or do you find most useful for your church? So the options are Facebook, WhatsApp, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Which of these platforms do you use? I see Craig there is saying WhatsApp. I know WhatsApp is mostly used. And let me just post also on YouTube there. Which platform has been most useful for your church? Is it Facebook, WhatsApp, YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok? Facebook and YouTube. That's Charlie. And then I see Roger is saying predominantly WhatsApp. Fantastic. And let's see on Teams. On Teams, Facebook and WhatsApp. Facebook, WhatsApp, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. We see you have them all covered. 3 platforms, WhatsApp and YouTube. So we can see that WhatsApp is taking number 1 in this chat box. I see Facebook, TikTok, and WhatsApp. That's Bongeka. That's awesome. WhatsApp. So WhatsApp is number 1 there. I think it's because of how easy it is to use and operate and also accessibility. Many people have access to WhatsApp. Fantastic stuff. So now looking at the trends, you can see that your people are already out there, and we have people using YouTube every day, Facebook every day, and WhatsApp. And WhatsApp has introduced your communities as well. So people can join your communities or you can invite them and add them into your communities. So now, how do we then as churches capitalize on these numbers here? So I'm going to be showing you on how do you then get to create content that reaches people beyond your normal Sunday services. So here's a trend that's happening now in the social media platforms or social media field since post-COVID. So we've seen that there's a lot of supply in terms of content, but then the demand has not been going up. The demand has been constant. If you can see now, everyone is almost a content creator, and we are also in the AI phase where content creation has become way easier. So we have more creators and more content, but we have less consumers of the content. Therefore, this might pose a challenge for us as churches not to be able to create content that is viral, content that cannot reach more people. It can come to us as a challenge, or it can come to us as something that is scary for us to be able now to create content that reaches people. But churches have an advantage. Let me show you what I mean by churches have an advantage. Because now remember, if a church was a business, then we'd have to invent content from scratch. But churches don't have to do that. Because remember, on Sundays, we create new sermons. As preachers, priests, and leaders in the church, they create new sermons that are already there for the people on Sunday. So that piece of sermon, that one sermon on Sunday, we can repurpose it and make it and use it as content. And I will show you how. So keep in mind that as we create content for the church to feed people on the outside world, we should know that we have an advantage as a church. So this supply and demand shift shouldn't scare us. We shouldn't be scared of creating content. So the church has an advantage because preach sermons each and every week. There is a new sermon each and every week. So this sermon is not just for the people in the room. This sermon, we can repurpose it so that it can go live online and reach new people and disciple your existing community. Because if ever someone is not coming to church due to any other reason, they can still rewatch the sermons online and be discipled. So remember the Bible, Paul taught Timothy and told him that he should preach the word and be prepared in season and out of season. So social media is one way we can keep preaching the word even after the Sunday service is over. So we need to repurpose our sermons for outreach and discipleship. So just I'm going to ask another question here now. Is there any way that you are repurposing your sermons at the moment at church? For those churches which are repurposing the Sunday sermon, is there any way, can you please just share what you're doing? Or you can even say yes. Let's say yes first. Is there any church here that is repurposing the Sunday sermon and redistributing it? Yes or no? Is your church repurposing Sunday services? Let's hear in the chat box. Yes or no? I see Austin is saying yes. Bongeka is saying no. Sally is saying we send the sermons via WhatsApp. Good one. Yes, Westville on YouTube. Fantastic. Kosazana is saying no. Anderson saying no. Rapahle is saying no. So there's still room. There's room for all those no's to be yeses. We have to make a plan. Posisa is saying yes. Fantastic. Let me see on YouTube if ever. Roger saying yes, sent via WhatsApp, and I see quite a lot of no's there. So we need to start repurposing our sermons. So moving on with our slides. So when now we are creating the content, one other thing that might scare us is how do we then edit the videos and make them perfect? So if you've ever asked for advice from someone, maybe you want to do a presentation or you want to go somewhere, maybe for an interview or something, usually people just tell you to be yourself. So here's also an advice that I'm coming and telling church content creators and also you as a church. Online, you need to be yourself. Remember, now we are living in a world where there's a lot of AI videos. And my first instinct when I hear that AI voice, I usually just skip or I listen, but then with some skepticism. However, when I see someone doing like a raw video, then I sit down and I listen because I relate. So this is just a reminder that authenticity is going to win your audience. Authenticity is going to win people that are online. We need to publish selfie style videos, of which I will show you an example of what is a selfie style video. And then also remember that people trust real and unpolished content. So I'm not saying then post content that is windy and whatnot. Just post content that is ready to be consumed, not too much editing. Just make it raw as it can be. So if looking at the trends, I was looking at the trends and I saw that selfie style videos are crushing it, especially when it comes to ministry. Selfie style videos is just you and your phone. So you hold your phone like this and then you speak to the phone, and I'll show you how to do that. So this is especially important for priests and preachers of the word on Sunday, Because remember, you are already speaking on Sundays, you're already speaking for a living, you already prepare sermons, you already know how to connect with people. So now imagine using this experience and taking it for 60 seconds. Just take a piece of 60 seconds from your sermon and record it as a casual video. That's powerful. That's a powerful something to do. So when it comes to creating content, do not overthink. Just take your phone, start recording. You can invest in a cheap mic so that at least there is no wind blowing into the video. So authenticity wins. So keep this in mind. You don't have to be overly polished. And then also, as you're creating content, there are things called hooks. So hooks are basically what the first statement that you say in the first 3 seconds of your video. So if ever you've been on social media scrolling on reels, usually you skip a video after hearing the first 3 seconds. So if they say something like, "Hi, today I want to tell you a story," you might skip. So here's a strategy that you can use. You must use hooks. Something like, instead of saying, "Hi, today I want to tell you a story about this and this and this," say something like this: "I've been reading this verse for years and missed this point." So someone will hear this. This person has been reading this verse for years and missed something, and then they want to follow along. Or you can say, "Something I just learned about the Bible is that the whole canon is about forgiveness. Think about it. Something, something, something," and then you carry on. So these hooks, you use them now to help people become enticed and follow through with the video. Or you can say something like this: "You won't believe what this passage really means. This and this and this and that." People now follow along. I hope you can see the difference between "Today I want to tell you a story" with "Something I just learned about the Bible blew my mind." So these hooks here create curiosity. So let me ask you now, just thinking out of the blue, from the sermon that you had last week Sunday, can you think of a hook or a statement that creates curiosity? Can you think of a possible hook that you could use, or that your pastor or your priest or someone who preached the word on Sunday? Put yourself in their shoes, and then let's say we are creating a piece of content. Can you please just type that hook in the Bible in the chat box below? Let's give this a minute. Think of a possible hook or a statement that you could use to reel in people into listening into a piece of content that you would have created. You can share in the chat box what possible hook that you could. Take a minute to think. Take a minute to think. It's a bit challenging, eh? I can see the chat box is quite silent. Take a minute to think and just think of a hook, keeping in mind the sermon that you had this past Sunday. So I hear Greg is saying, "I'm a church novice, but this enticed me." Fantastic. 3 Bible verses that can turn your day around. I would definitely stop the scroll and start listening to that. I see Craig is saying free. Fantastic. Thanks, Craig. Let's see on YouTube if ever there are any comments. Nothing yet on YouTube. There's a difference between spiritual and natural gifts. That's Charlie B on YouTube. I definitely want to understand what that means. Can you imagine yourself as clay in the potter's hands? That's a fantastic hook. I would want to listen what comes next. ever thought about what your responsibility towards creations are? That's Roger. Thank you, Roger. So you see, already we're creating content. We already have our hooks. This psalm saved me during my darkest moments. That's from Margaret. So you will speak to someone who's also uh, going through something. So it's something that someone would relate and they would want to listen. What goes on in the mind of the artist in the workshop? I also wonder what goes on in their mind. And then I start watching. Today's verse is actually interpreted differently by various preachers. Not referring back to Sunday service, but the word testimony would get anyone to pause to listen. True. True. Fantastic. So you can see that that is what we mean by. So when you're creating your pieces of content now, you must make sure that you use hooks in the first 3 seconds. So please take notes and give them to your priests or to your preachers at church so that when they are creating content now, you can also create content on their behalf. So moving on, I just recorded a selfie style video so that you can see what I meant by a selfie style video. So I'm just gonna play it. It's just a demo video, nothing too serious, raw as it comes, just to show you what we can start from anywhere.
Have you
Have you
ever had
ever
to
had to
forgive
forgive
someone when you did
someone
not
when you
have
did
to?
not have to?
Well,
Well,
this is what the
this is
little
what the
book about
book about
Philemon is about.
Philemon is about.
So,
So
Paul writes
Paul writes
to his friend Philemon about him taking back a slave who had run away, Onesimus. And in this book, in this letter, the great thing is that Paul is not commanding because he had power over Philemon, but he is begging. He is asking him. So this is just an example, by the way. Bye bye. Have you
So that's an example. That was an example, just showing you how it can be done. It doesn't have to be complicated. So obviously, I just have to know my script when I'm recording. You can write a script, practice that script so that you know it from mind, and you don't have too much brain fast like I was doing in that video saying da 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 da, because that would then make the video kind of uh, not nice. But that's how you create your selfie style video. That's what I meant by selfie style video. And after now you've done your part, after you've done your hook in that selfie style video, then the next piece is that you can sprinkle some invitations there. So you have unlimited ways of promoting your services, of promoting your full sermon in that small video. So as long as you do this the right way, we call this one here the sprinkle method. So you are not just promoting your church, you are not just promoting your full sermon. You are giving them a small piece, a small chunk of the sermon, a small highlight of the sermon, and then you sprinkle down a promo. So towards the end of the video, towards the end of the 60-second short video, then you can say something like, watch the full sermon on YouTube. Or you can say something like, join us on Sunday at 10 a.m. Then you drop them your address. You can say, the link is down below. So now that we are here, here's a question again. Does your church has a platform currently where you have like a sermon library? It could be Facebook Live, it could be YouTube videos, it could be your website. Uh, so that's just a question. You can answer in the chat box. What platform or what, if ever your church has a sermon library, where are you storing it? Are you storing on YouTube? Are you storing on Facebook? Are you storing on your website? What are you using? You can share your answers in the chat box there. I see Bongeka is saying, no, we do not have. So we need to change that. Hopefully by the end of this session, you'll be inspired to create a repository of sermons. I saw earlier on some of you were mentioning that you have YouTube channels, and I believe that you do live streams on Sunday, and then the someone is there live streamed. I see Westview is saying on YouTube. Fantastic. See Roger saying no. Tandy is saying that they use Facebook. Emily is saying YouTube and Facebook, and then Masirame is saying they use Facebook at their church. Let me see. Okay, fantastic. So now moving on. So now this one here might actually surprise you. When it comes to content creation for the church or any content basically, followers do not matter, because sometimes churches or people are afraid of creating content. It might come as a negative or a fear factor when it comes to creating content, saying that we don't have followers, but followers don't matter. What matters is your content. Your content need to be consistent, so you need to post consistently, at least twice a week. And you also have to have a strategy and a plan, of which a strategy is just basically when do you post, what do you post, and what are you trying to achieve there. And you should also use some visuals, and what algorithms do these days is that they push local content. So they push content based on location. So if ever your church is in Bryanston, for example, if you post content, eventually it's going to reach your community in Bryanston. So it's going to reach beyond whoever who is following you. So do not be scared of creating content because you think that you need followers. So just a reminder that in Acts chapter 1 verse 8, it is saying that you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and all Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth. So social media is today's Jerusalem. That is our location. That is where we are locally. So we start local. Algorithms start with local based pushing of content, and this helps you. So the platforms are actually designed to help you reach your neighbors within your neighboring communities, and then you can expand from there. When people now start sharing your content, when people start sharing those 60 seconds, then you reach more people. So do not be afraid of posting content thinking that you need a lot of followers. And then now this is an important part, but we're gonna touch more on social media policies and data security in the next week's session. But you're also gonna have to have some sort of social media policy, and or but then here at MyChurchIT we have 10 key rules that your church can adapt. So I'll share again these ones here at the end of this week as I share the ebooks and also the social media calendars to you after the sessions. So I'll just go through a few here. So when it comes to social media posting, please do this for ministry, not just for promotion. So whatever piece of content that we'll be sharing, make sure that there is at least one ministry point there. Something to comfort a person, something to encourage, something to rebuke. You know that all scripture is meant to rebuke, is meant to teach, is meant to guide, is meant to encourage. So make sure that your pieces of content are doing ministry, not just promotion. And make sure that you are consistent. Consistency matters. So I just put a hashtag there. Hashtag no weeks off. At least twice a week, post something. And make sure you stop the scrolls by using your hooks. So I've seen some nice hooks in the chat box. So please make sure that you use hooks and reach wide and connect deep. And also just a reminder that social media is a springboard for discipleship. You can start discipleship courses online with strangers. You can do live streams on Instagram and multiple of people join on Instagram. I know there's one woman, I just forgot her name now. It's Rorisang, I think, or Renelo. she does Instagram lives, I think every Monday, and people, even strangers, join her lives and get taught the Bible. So you can see that the social media is a springboard for discipleship. So these are some of just the social media policy preview, and I'll share more next week. I'll share more next week, and I'll also just share the top 10. These are just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll share 10 next week. So now, uh, before I show this slide here, can you guess how many? Just it's just a guess, no wrong answer, no right answer. Can you guess in the chat box how many pieces of content can we create from one Sunday service sermon? How many pieces of content can we create from one Sunday sermon? Um, let's just hear a guess there. How many pieces of content can we create from one Sunday sermon? Let's see, just post numbers. What do you think? More than 10. 20. Thank you, Sally. It can be more than 5. Yes. 2. Lovely. 100. That's a bold number. It's a bold number. At least 3. Fantastic. 3. Sermon, musical, and Sunday school plays. Awesome. 9. Fantastic. So now that we're tight on time, I'm just going to show you what I have here. So here I have 6 possible pieces of content that you can create from one sermon on Sunday. So the first one is 2 short clips. So these 2 short clips can be reels that you can use and post on Instagram, on TikTok, or you can post them as shorts on YouTube. So these are 2 types. You have one that is recorded during the service. So you can dedicate one young person to record the preacher while they're preaching and just post that on as a reel. And the other one would be the preacher himself or the preacher herself doing a recording of using the selfie style of recording a sermon. Or you can also do a quote post. So this is just a post where you type in a highlight of the sermon, and then you post it on Facebook or any other platform. You could use a carousel. So a carousel is sort of a slider. These are most common on Instagram. So you can have sliders, top 3 takeaways from this Sunday's sermon, or from the book of Philemon, or from the passage of from this passage. Then you can have top 3, and then you slide through, and at the end you can even say watch the full sermon on our YouTube, or watch the full sermon on our Facebook. Or you can also do like your YouTube video when you're doing your live stream, and you can also do a blog post on your church website, or you can write this as a post on Facebook, a longer post. So counting here, we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 possible pieces of content that you can create from this week's Sunday sermon. You have 6 possible pieces of content that you can start creating and start posting. So I'll also be sharing, there's obviously each and every church is unique, and there's creative people within the church. So this is just sort of a smaller guideline, but you can grow beyond this and create 100 pieces of content. You can take the whole sermon, break it into smaller chunks, and then post those smaller chunks each and every day. But this is just how it could be. And this is a possible week calendar for the week when it comes to social media. So on Monday, you could post a quote post, which is a short, snappy line from the Sunday sermon, and then invite people to read the full sermon online. On Tuesday, you can post that reel, which is a short 60 to 90 second video, which is a strong highlight with a strong hook. And then on Wednesday, you could do a carousel Or on Saturday, you could do a reminder and invite people to the Sunday service. So this is a possible content calendar for a week at a church. So my question now for you is, if you only had time for 2 posts this week, which 2 could you choose from this list here? You can type in your answers in the chat box. Let's see. If you could only post 2, which could you choose there? Which could you post? I see this one is making you think a bit. If you had 2 possible, so maybe you could pick the Monday and the Friday type and post that. The post sermon on Monday and Saturday, the reminder to invite to Sunday sermon. Monday and the teaching post. Thanks, Austin. Sermon highlight with a strong hook. I think that's Tuesday. Yeah, that's Tuesday. So ideally, this would be recorded by whoever preached the sermon, or you could have someone who is a face for the church. Tuesday and Sunday. Monday and Saturday reminder. Fantastic. So you can see that it doesn't have to be complicated. You just have to start. And so that's sort of a conclusion for social media. I'll be sharing the slides and a bit more detailed step-by-step guides tomorrow, so that you can pick something and then start doing it. And then now we are going to get into the websites part of things, and I'm only going to do this 8 minutes so that we can have more time to do some discussions afterwards. And in terms of a church website, so now we have your social media, we have your church on Sunday, that's the actual church building or the actual church location that you're meeting. So the church is your front door, your physical front door, but now the website now becomes your digital front door. It becomes your home where everything is interlinked. So you invite people from Facebook, you invite people from YouTube, you have people on Instagram, and they all meet on your website. So for a church website, we have 3 eyes there. The website should serve inspiration, should serve information, and should also work to invite people through an invitation. So now, when it comes to inspiration, this means that you should show and not tell. So by showing, it means you should use real images of people from within your church. Because remember, they said that a picture tells 1,000 words. So when people see actual people at church doing things, then they become attracted to your church and they could visit you, or they could do ministry with you, seeing the people there. So whenever you are having, like, your Vibe conferences and your Vibe Sunday services, sometimes just take a recording of, even if it's a short clip of the worship, and then post it on your website or on your social media. And then also your website should serve information. So this then means that your Sunday service times, your any piece of information that you want people and the outside world to know, you can put it on your website. So you can save things from discipleship notes, uh, manuals on what to do, baptismal forms and things like that. You put it on your website. And then you should also work to invite people. So it should drive next steps, things like plan a visit for someone to maybe fill a form, or just to have contact details of someone they should contact when they come to visit your church. Or you can invite them to give, or you can invite them to fill a form to request for prayer. So remember that Psalm 96 verse 3 says, "Declare his glory among the nations and his marvelous deeds amongst all people." So your website is one of the ways that you can declare his glory to your community. So here are some examples of website that MyChurchIT has built. We have St. Francis of Assisi in Alberton here. This website here is one of the frequently used website. Weekly, I've seen they're posting pew leaflets, and they update their calendar frequently. Per quarter, they update their calendar and also their gallery. But on a weekly basis, you go there, you find a new pew leaflet. So this is useful for visitors that are coming to your church, and you can just point them to the website and they get the pew leaflet on the website. And also it contributes to us being green Christians, where we reduce our digital footprint by not printing and using resources stored on our websites. And next, we have St. Thomas Rondebosch. They have a rich library of audio sermons that are recorded on Sundays by phone. So if you have time, you can go to www.str.org.za. This is St. Thomas Rondebosch in the Western Cape. They have sermons that are recorded just by a phone. It's nothing fancy. Like I mentioned, content doesn't have to be too fancy. It's just a phone. The preacher puts the phone closer to them. They record. You can even hear sometimes the wind in the background, but it serves a purpose. It ministers to people on the internet. And then we have freshin.org. This has a rich library of resources for discipleship making. So you can go to freshin.org. You can find resources from leading small groups to uh, how to handle money as a Christian and things like that. So now you can use the websites for many things. So I'm not going to say much there, but now here's a question. Is your church visible online? If someone Googled your church today, would they find your church? And if they did found your church, what would be the first thing that you want them to see? So I'm just going to post the question in as a question in the chat box. So if people were to search your when people Google your church, what's one thing you want them to see first? You can answer two questions at once. One of them is your church visible online? If someone Googled your church today, would they find your church? And when people Google your church, what is one thing that you want them to see first? Let's hear in the comments. Location. Thanks, Busiso. Location. So location is very important. Location. I see 3 locations now. Thanks, Angela. Let's see on YouTube. Our location and pictures. That's Tandy on YouTube. Thank you. Hospitality and location. Spiritual events. Rapatli says yes, they will find location and historical events. Fantastic. Location, welcome photo, and events. Yes, it is visible, and they'd like to show service, church service times and location. So that is Monica. Fantastic. And from experience, I know that not many churches are active digitally. And so let's share some of our challenges. What is the biggest challenge for your church to be online right now or online right now? What is the biggest challenge for your church online right now? Is it not enough time or volunteers don't know what to post, low engagement on posts, outdated websites, leadership buy-in? So outdated website, we can even say no website or no social media platforms. What is the biggest challenge for your church right now to be online or online? Let's hear what are some of the challenges that you're experiencing in terms of bringing your churches online. Volunteers, not enough volunteers. Spusiso says we do not have a website page, poor social media presence, leadership buy-in, low engagement of posts. That's Monica. Leadership buy-in. I hope your leaders are attending this. How to post. All right. Limited resources and low engagement. Thanks, Angela. So I'm just checking to see if people on YouTube have responded. No volunteers in time, lack of volunteers, and outdated website. In terms of a decent website, lack of finances. I see, Charlie. Capacity to do content. Youth not interested in assisting. That's a challenge. Limited resources and low engagement. I see. You can keep the challenges coming, but I'll carry on with the slides. But you can keep the challenges coming so that we can look at them and see how we can assist you as MyChurchIT. So here's a take home for this session and for this week. Social media and websites are not just extras for the church in this digital age. They're actually tools for discipleship and outreach. So you should delegate a media team or initiate one. So I see that most of the one of the challenges was to get volunteers and people who are interested in helping. Maybe you need to incorporate more teachings on the fruits of the spirits and also talents, using your talents in church, and encourage more young people to help out. You can even have multiple teams and have them compete, so that we see who handles content more effectively. Or you can have 4 different teams and have teams for week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. Or you can have 2 teams, or you can have 2 individuals, because if ever a team becomes bigger now, it might be a challenge to manage. You can have 2 different individuals. One is responsible for week content in week 1 and the other in week 2, and they rotate. So there are many ways people can contribute to the church's digital life, and this is one of the way to make them volunteer. And just a reminder that social media is the modern mission field. So let us go out there and carry our Great Commission out there. And then also websites serve as a digital front door. And next week, we'll be talking about AI usage in ministry, and also we'll cover policies and data security. So if you have any questions or you want to maybe take this social media, we can organize a social media course specifically that will run or maybe over 4 weeks so that we go deep into social media. This was just a warm up, but you can take notes from this and then push. So my challenge for you this week is post at least 2 pieces of content. It could be that Monday and that Saturday invitation. So I'll share the social media calendar so that you can start with that. And then also review your church's website homepage and check if ever it inspires, it informs, and invites. And for those of you who do not have websites, please look into getting a website. At MyChurchIT, we do websites, but you can also look at other companies out there. And remember that next week we are still having a session, and I'll be sharing also the resources by the end of the day tomorrow, and so that you have resources. Thank you. This has been the session, and I'll just keep this slide open and take any questions. You can just type in your questions in the chat box. 8 o'clock is almost there, and if ever you have any further questions, you can ask them either by sending us an email, or you can send us a WhatsApp message, and let us see how we can help you getting your church fully digital online and serving God also there in that digital mission field. Can you please share the doc? Yes, I will share the document. I will share the slides with you, and I'll share also sort of, that social media calendar. I'll make it a one-pager social media calendar that I'll send so that you can have something to follow through. And also that from sermon to different pieces of content, I'll also share that so that we have. Hi, do we need a full-time person for managing posts to social media platforms? No, you don't need a full-time person. What you can do is it's easier to dedicate maybe 20 minutes per day doing social media work. You can just have one person or part-time, and then they just sit 20 minutes a day creating content. There are tools like Canva. It's easier to create content on Canva, and then you can even automate, you can even schedule the posting. So let's say Sunday after church, you sit down, you create the content for the week, and then you do scheduling. Canva will auto post for you. So it's something that we can offer training for. You just contact us on WhatsApp, or you can contact us via email, or you can open a ticket on our client portal, and we can take it from there and show you how you can do it. There are tools that you can use. You don't need someone full-time for managing posts. And also, you don't have to be on all platforms as you start. You can just pick 1 or 2 platforms that you will be using. And yeah. Okay, we have 2 minutes left in the meeting. You can post your questions. If no questions, then we'll end the meeting. I'd like to thank each and everyone of you who has joined. And please remember that the recording of this session is on YouTube, and we'll be sharing the resources tomorrow. And you can share with other people so that they can also be empowered in using technology for ministry. We find that we have majority of elders in the church as the young does not attend, hence limited hands. Yes, that's a real challenge, Craig. We just pray that you either do community outreaches to get young people to the church. Pray that you find creative ways to bring the youth to the church. Remember last week, Reverend Chris mentioned that there was one church that has free Wi-Fi, and young people can come and use that free Wi-Fi for applying for jobs, applying for varsity, and using the internet for for things that could help and benefit them. So you could also implement that at your church, Craig, to attract young people, and then you can minister to them while they are sitting there. Hopefully, they will start coming to church on Sunday. Thank you very much. I'm going to end the meeting now. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Have a safe night. Bye bye.